way, I think a week ago, if the Democrats were in charge of this process in the House, what would you have done differently than what the Republicans did?
We controlled the House and the Senate, or just if we controlled the House?
Let's just say you controlled the House, because I think controlling the Senate is going to be difficult.
Well, first of all, we'd love to have control of the House. Second of all, one of the big hang-ups, obviously, is the sunset on the tax credits. Obviously, that's a big issue. It's a big issue for St. Louis City, especially. Right here on Washington Avenue, all of our downtown has been revitalized because of those tax credits. We obviously do not want to see those tax credits go away. Having said that, we have 9% unemployment. I think that we could have worked out a deal to at least bring up the possibility of sunsets at some point. Tax credit can always be reintroduced. I understand the issue with having one or two senators kill that bill and letting that expire. But right now, the people of this state do not want to hear about a tax credit that can expire in 2016. They want to know about jobs now. They can't afford to wait 5 more years for the possibility of a tax credit ending. They want to know right now when they can go back to work. And I think that's the difference. I think we could have worked out a deal. I don't think that the sunset provision was the end-all stopping point. We should have moved forward from there. I think that was a matter of campaign contributions from some of the big developers. I think that's where that went. I think we could have worked something out.
As I'm sure you remember, that there was a vote on sunsets, and it was overwhelmingly opposed to putting them on. If they were done in a different way, would that have been amenable to Democrats? And if so, what way would that be?
Well, there was a vote on the sunset. I did vote against the sunsets. However, we were under the impression that we were going to go to a conference committee and work those issues out.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that did not happen. We were not allowed to go to conference committee. The Senate refused to play ball. But at the same time, the House refused to budge. So I think by us sending over every single thing that the House wanted, we signaled to the Senate that we would be able to compromise. Republican leadership said they are not willing to compromise. Senate Republican leadership said they are not willing to compromise.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of them not being able to compromise. We would have done what we needed to do to move this state forward and to put people in Missouri back to work.
Now, taking away the issue of sunsets for a moment, the Senate bill made a lot of changes to the quote-unquote deal that was in the fly-around.
Correct.
Would that have been acceptable to Democrats, the lower amount going to Aerotropolis, the curtailment of a lot of different tax credits? Would that have been acceptable, or would that have been a problem as well?
Well, again, we would have taken that to a conference committee, and we could have worked out the differences between the two. If it came down to us only having the freight forwarding piece of that bill, I think in order to lure those companies and those infrastructure investments from China, we would have done it. Now, I can't speak for everyone, but I think at some point we have to put people in St. Louis and the surrounding areas back to work. And I think we would have been able to play ball with the Senate a lot better. As you know, the next scheduled shipment of a flight from China was canceled. I don't think that that's a matter of them not having any goods to send over here. They sent goods nonstop. I think that was them sending us a message saying they're disappointed in our response, in our lack of able to pass any kind of incentives for that Aerotropolis.
You mentioned a few other things besides the EcoDevo bill, the primary, local control, et cetera. If I recall, those actually did pass through the House and then got hung up in the Senate. So would you blame House leadership for those failures as well, or is that purely a Senate issue?
Those issues passed and went to the Senate. I believe that the Senate was the ones that said no. There was no reason for them to hold up the local control bill. They've held that hostage for 2 years now. The sporting events, from what I understand, they have tied all of that into one. If one didn't pass, the other didn't pass. We had to go and we went into special session, spent $300,000 of taxpayers' money, and we came out with nothing. the Mosara bill passed, it had a provision on it, which I believe is unconstitutional, that it doesn't go into effect unless the other Senate bill passes.
I think
So-
what we're seeing here, excuse me, Jake, is a game of legislative tit for tat.
Yeah.
We won't pass this unless you pass this our way and vice versa. And I think that, honestly, we see this because of the advent of term limits. Now, because we have term limits, I don't think we can go back to the voters and say, hey, term limits has brought us this sort of stalemate and we need you to go back and lift term limits or extend it, because now they don't trust us to do anything that they send us to Jefferson City to do. So I guess until, you know, our whole legislative body starts to rethink the idea of serving as a legislator and what that entails, and that compromise is not a dirty word, that we will continue to have these legislative stalemates.